The time has come. If the New York Giants want to stop being a stale, bland NFL franchise, then this season needs to be the swan song for Daniel Jones as a Giant. He has been boring and mediocre for years, and at this point, it's clear that is just who he is. Daniel Jones' replacement should be one that can take this offense to the next level, one that perfectly fits the system Brian Daboll wants to run, and bring some excitement back to this proud franchise. That player is Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe. When the Giants drafted Daniel Jones 6th overall in the 2019 NFL Draft, they were convinced they had their successor to Eli Manning. He even looked like Eli and was kind of goofy like him. 5 years later though, Daniel Jones' time as the starting quarterback for the New York Giants is running out. He has been a mediocre quarterback for most of his time in the NFL. He has consistently ranked in the bottom half of the league in passer rating, turnover-worthy play percentage, touchdowns, and completion percentage since he was drafted. Put simply, he hasn't lived up to the expectation the Maras had for him as Eli's successor. It's not like the Giants haven't been subtle about their doubts about him either. They declined to pick up his 5th-year option, put an opt-out in his contract after the 2nd year, and during the 2024 NFL Draft, their desire to move up and draft Jones' replacement, Drake May, was one of the worst-kept secrets of the draft. Unless Jones can have a career renaissance this year, something I highly doubt he will do, then when the 2025 draft rolls around, the quarterbacks will still be in the market for a quarterback that better fits the Brian Daboll system. If that is the case, then I would heavily advocate for them to draft Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe. The main thing you need to know about Jalen Milroe is he is everything Daniel Jones is not, which is exactly what Brian Daboll is looking for. While Jones is extremely conservative in his play style, Milroe is a walking explosive play waiting to happen. He is a better runner, throws a better deep ball, and is more accurate than Jones. These are all qualities Daboll is looking for in a quarterback, and we have the numbers to back that up. So Giants fans, grab your Timbs and lose your shirts, because this boat ride is going to leave you wet. We are so getting demonetized for that.
First, we need to establish which offensive philosophy Brian Daboll runs, so that we can then compare the qualities of Daniel Jones and Jalen Milroe that fit what that philosophy requires of his quarterback. Normally, NFL offenses can be broken down into one of 3 basic philosophies: the West Coast offense, the spread offense, or the air raid. Each coach puts their own unique spin on an offense, but these are the core philosophies that all offenses are built on. While there are some similarities in each philosophy, such as spreading defenses out horizontally to create lanes to attack, there are also unique rules and beliefs about what is required of the quarterback that separate them, like prioritizing a quarterback with mobility over one that is more active. So with that in mind, which philosophy does Brian Daboll run?
Well, when he was working with Josh Allen, he used short, precise passes on early downs to get him in a rhythm for deep shots, which is more in line with the West Coast offense. But in Daboll's 2 seasons in New York, they have thrown the ball at a 61% rate, which is more like the air raid's philosophy of using a high-volume passing attack. Daboll also relies on running his quarterbacks. He called 131 designed runs over the last 2 seasons, which is a staple of the spread offense and its requirement for a dual-threat quarterback. So with Daboll using parts from each philosophy, it is hard to give his style of offense any one definitive label. But for the purposes of this video, we are going to call the foundation of Daboll's offense the spread. He uses a lot of its principles, such as calling design runs for his quarterback, running 10 or 11 personnel almost 80% of the time, and having his quarterbacks in shotgun 73% of the time. All core principles of the spread offense. Also, when he was still working with Josh Allen, he was consistently in the top 10 in deep attempts, which is another principle of the spread offense. So what are the basic principles of the spread offense?
Well, like the name implies, the spread offense relies on wide alignments to spread out defenses. Spreading the defense out horizontally creates lighter boxes, which means wider running lanes. It also creates more vertical opportunities because corners become isolated without safeties directly over top of them to provide them support. So a quarterback in the spread offense needs to be an athlete who can take advantage of those run lanes created by the lighter boxes and have the arm strength to take advantage of the vertical opportunities created by the one-on-one matchups. This is also why the Giants brought in weapons like Hyatt and Malik Nabers, who excel with deep passes and can stretch the field. According to PFF, Both receivers had receiving grades over 93 on passes past 10 yards and passer ratings over 142 on targets past 20 yards. Malik also had the highest grade in his draft class against man coverage. So the question now becomes, which one of these guys is better suited to run Brian Daboll's spread offense?
Well, right off the bat, both quarterbacks meet the bare minimum that's required of them for the position. Both are good athletes who can run and have above average arm strength with decent accuracy on deep throws. So you would think both could do what Brian Daboll needs of them. But when we compare their numbers from their best seasons, we can see Milroe is head and shoulders better than Jones. When comparing their running ability, Jaylin has more rushing yards, better yards per attempt, and more touchdowns. To really highlight the difference, PFF has a signature stat called an elusive rating. It's a stat that measures the success and impact of a runner with the ball, independent of blocking. Essentially, the stat shows if a runner can create yards for themselves or do they have to rely on a good offensive line. Last season, Jaylin posted a rating of 54.3, which isn't bad. For context, out of running backs that had at least 140 carries last year, Steelers running back Jalen Warren had the highest grade of 131.6. On the other side, PFF gave Jones a rating of 0.0 for his 2022 season. PFF literally said Jones couldn't make Stevie Wonder miss. I did want to point out, Jones did have fewer fumbles though, so that is a positive for him. But clearly Jaylin is the better runner between the two. But what about when it comes to taking advantage of those vertical opportunities?
Well, on throws 20 yards or further, Jalen Milroe beat Jones's 2022 season by pretty much every stat possible. He had a better grade by PFF, more yards, a better completion percentage, a higher passer rating, more touchdowns, and a higher big time throw percentage, and a higher average depth of targets. He also had a lower turnover worthy play percentage. What is even crazier is he should only get better under the guidance of new Alabama head coach Jalen Daboll. Daboll is the same guy who turned Michael Penix Jr. from a projected, undrafted player to a Heisman finalist and a top 10 pick. To be honest, comparing Jones and Milroe doesn't even feel like a fair fight. To better contextualize what Jaylin can do for the Giants offense, it might be better to compare him to a former quarterback of the Brian Daboll system, Josh Allen. When comparing Josh Allen's 2021 season, his last year with Brian Daboll, and Jalen's last season at Alabama, some of the numbers are shockingly similar. Their average yards per attempt were 6.2 for Milroe and 6.3 for Allen. They also posted similar elusive ratings according to PFF. We already covered Jalen's elusive rating, but Josh Allen had a rating of 53.3, a difference of only 1 point. They even forced a similar number of missed tackles. Allen broke 32 tackles in 2021, and Jalen Milroe broke 35. Both of these guys are weapons with their legs who are able to create offense on their own if they have to. But Josh Allen is known for his big arm and his ability to push the ball downfield. He should have an advantage in that category, right? Well, when you put the numbers next to each other, it isn't really a contest, but not the way that you would think. Milroe blows Allen's numbers out of the water. Milroe had a better passer rating, a better completion percentage, a better average depth of targets, and more touchdowns. That shouldn't come as much of a surprise though, considering Jalen Milroe received the third highest grade on deep throws last year, behind only Heisman winner Jayden Daniels and the guy that the Giants originally wanted, which is Drake May. So are we really saying on camera that Jalen Milroe, a guy who was still in college, is better at football than Josh Allen?
Absolutely not. The R in RFL stands for rational, not ridiculous. Jaylin is a good player with massive potential, but there are still a lot of areas he needs to grow. When it comes to intermediate throws or throws in that 10 to 19 yard range, Josh Allen was better in every important statistical category. Even Daniel Jones put up better numbers in this range than Milroe. This highlights the next step that Milroe has to take if he wants to prove he can be a future franchise quarterback. Jalen Daboll's offense involves a high amount of vertical shots, but also incorporates a good amount of mesh concepts and crossing routes that will require him to be better with his short and intermediate accuracy. His biggest issue boils down to improving little things, like getting through reads quicker, throwing with better anticipation, and having more consistent throwing mechanics. If he can get better in those areas, his intermediate passing should improve, making him a better all-around player. Jaylin has only had one full season as a starter and is nowhere near his ceiling. Plus, he has already shown he is capable of growing and improving as a passer, which makes us think he is capable of taking that next step. The question is, can Daboll help him grow like he did Michael Penix Jr.?
That is a question that we won't have an answer to until the end of the 2024 season. But the Giants should go out of their way to make sure that he is their starting quarterback in 2025. He's a better athlete than Jones, and he's a better deep ball passer. Both qualities that would make him a perfect fit for Daboll's spread offense. He would give Brian Daboll and the Giants their own version of Josh Allen, a quarterback who loves to push the ball downfield and can be a legitimate threat with their legs if they have to. Jaylin would need to make strides as a passer at Alabama this season if he wants to prove that he is an NFL franchise quarterback. But we believe that Kalen DeBoer can get him there based on his work with Michael Penix Jr. But tell us what you think. Do you think that Jalen Milroe will be the Giants' next franchise quarterback? Let us know in the comment section. And if you like this video, then you will like our video on how Trevor Lawrence has ruined the way that the NFL media ranks NFL quarterbacks. You can find that video right here. Thank you so much for watching. We are the RFL Show, and we will see you in the next video.